safety training is actually required? If you've ever wondered that, if you've been asked that by your boss or by the company owner, or maybe, by employees, you're like, what do we need to have people trained on? You're not alone. This is one of the most common questions I get asked. I get asked, David, what do I need to do to be in compliance? Now, this is a broad question. And the problem is, if you've ever asked this question when it comes to safety training, it's hard to answer. And the reason it's hard to answer is because if you look in the OSHA standard, they want you to train everything. Every possible hazard that your employee could possibly encounter needs to be trained to them. That's a lot. That's a lot. And that can be overwhelming, and you're going, I don't even know where to start. So I want to break this down into bite-sized chunks to where I can explain what goes into a training program so that you can get your people trained. Now, before I dive into this, I want to just mention, if you haven't already, watch my OSHA inspection workshop, my OSHA audit workshop. It is a great way to understand what you need to do to be prepared for an unexpected OSHA audit. And if you have questions about training, or you need help with inspections, or you just need help with safety, I've got memberships that are available. They'll be available in the links in this video. Check it out. You can do a free safety assessment call. That's the best first step to take. And I'll be glad to talk with you, and we can walk through exactly what you need at your company, for your industry, for your people. So, having said that, let me jump into the trainings. Here are the 18 most common safety trainings that are required. That's a lot, okay? Now, let me break it down into the way I look at it. The items that I got listed here in yellow, these 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 6 trainings need to be done by every manufacturing company. So if you build products, if you're a company that makes something and you're classified as general industry, you're going to need to provide these 6 trainings to your employees, all your employees. Fire prevention and emergency evacuation. This typically falls under the emergency action plan, and it explains what to do if we need to evacuate the facility. What does the alarm sound like? Where are we going to go to meet? How do we do the head count? Who's in charge? All of this is going to be covered in a training about emergency evacuation. Fire prevention is talking about how to use extinguishers, where they're located, what's most likely to catch on fire. Again, all employees need to get this on the first day during orientation. From there, we got hazard communication. This is chemical safety training. How do we store chemicals? How do we label chemicals? Safety data sheets. This is going to be hazard communication training. Again, wherever you work, whatever company this is, you're going to be required to do hazard communication training. Lockout, tagout for affected employees. This is teaching people what it means to control the energy on a piece of machinery when it's being serviced or cleaned or worked on. Lockout, tagout for affected employees needs to be covered with just about everybody. And the reason for this training is so they understand what it means when somebody is locking and tagging out a piece of equipment. Really, they just need to be taught, hey, leave it alone, don't touch it. Then we got accident response. Now, we're not talking about first aid and CPR. This is just accident response. What do I do if I get hurt? I notify my supervisor. I fill out an accident report. I go to this doctor, right? Just step by step, what to do if I get hurt on the job, so that people know what the policy is, what the procedure is when they get injured. This really falls under the emergency action plan, but it's a great way just to have a standalone training to make sure people know what to do if there's an accident, so that they don't say, well, nobody ever told me I was supposed to do that. Let them know ahead of time. Over here, personal protective equipment. Again, whatever your industry, whatever your company, personal protective equipment needs to be covered so people know what gloves to wear, where to wear safety glasses, when to wear hearing protection, all, how to get my PPE, who do I go to for it, what if it gets worn out or damaged, I need to replace it. All that's going to be covered in personal protective equipment. So those 6, that's the foundation. They have to be covered. Regardless, you need to be teaching your people these 6 topics. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper. When we go deeper, we have to go to authorized lockout tagout. And this is typically for managers and for maintenance personnel, people that are going to be servicing equipment and actually going to be putting locks and tags on equipment. They get trained on a higher level of lockout tagout. So that's authorized lockout tagout. They also might need to have electrical safety training, right? 70E arc flash training if they're going to be going into a panel that's hot. If they're going to be using a multimeter, they're going to need electrical safety training. Then we got fall protection if we're going up on a man lift, if we're working up on a platform, if we're working over 4 feet. 4 feet is the standard. If we're working over 4 feet in general industry, we have to have fall protection on, some kind of fall arrest system. And then over here, hot work, if we got welding, we got grinding, anything that's going to produce a spark. Again, typically maintenance, we're going to be thinking of hot work and discussing how to do that safely so we don't cause a fire. So those are some typical maintenance and higher level safety trainings that are needed. I got powered industrial forklift. Powered industrial truck and forklift is right here in blue. If you got pallet jacks, if you got forklifts, you're going to need to certify your people. The OSHA requirement is every 3 years. So you can do it every year. I recommend doing it every year, but every 3 years is the OSHA requirement. So that needs to be done if you have that type of equipment. And then the ones that aren't highlighted, these are ones that are going to be kind of industry specific, location specific. So just to kind of explain, CPR first aid, if you need accident responders on site, if you need to have somebody there prepared to respond to an emergency right away, they're going to need specialized training. Bloodborne pathogen cleanup, this goes with accidents. If you're going to be cleaning up after an accident, you need to teach your people how to properly dispose of the blood and any kind of rags or any kind of dirty equipment, how to clean it, how to sanitize it. That's going to be under bloodborne pathogen cleanup personnel. Machine guarding, if you got machines, if you're in food processing, if you're in a metal shop, if you're in a woodworking shop, if you got textiles or you got machines that are working and moving, guarding is going to be very important that you cover guarding with your people so they understand how the guards work. Hearing conservation, if you're working in a loud environment, this kind of falls under PPE, but we want to talk about where to wear earplugs. We'll talk about the specifics of noise testing and actually getting an audiometric test done on people. Crane and rigging, if I got overhead lifting devices, I'm going to want to train people on that, talk about inspections. Scissor lift, boom lift, any kind of man lift. If I'm taking people up in the air, they need to be trained and certified on that equipment. Respiratory protection, dust. I come out of the world of boat building and fiberglass, so I'm very familiar with dust and respiratory hazards. If you have welding or grinding or dust, you're going to need to be training your guys on respiratory protection. Also, if you have any kind of supplied air, you're going to need to be doing that as well. And then the last one down here, confined space. Confined space is very common, but if you're going to be entering confined space, you got to think about emergency response. You got to think about air monitors. There's a lot of detail that goes into confined space. So this is if I could, we got yellow, orange. This one would probably be red because it's that higher level of maintenance and specialized employees are going to be entering confined space safely so they know the procedures. Now, 18 different topics. These are the most common. You'll notice I don't have hand protection on here. I don't have knife. I don't have power tool safety. I don't have safety glasses and goggles. These are all trainings that could be added to this list. There's other trainings that could be added, but again, OSHA wants you to train everything. It's critically important that you do a safety assessment of your work area to determine what is actually needed to be trained on. We want to do our best to find the hazards and provide engineering responses and training responses to keep people safe. So the best thing you can do if you have questions about this, schedule a free safety assessment phone call with me. I'll be glad to walk you through your facility and we can talk about specific areas and questions you might have. Again, it's a free call. I just want to help. Feel free to give me a call and we can set up that free assessment. Until then, do everything you can to keep everybody safe where you work, because no one should get hurt at work.